America's workforce. Its strength is our nation's success. Join Ronnie Spellman on I Build America podcast as we explore innovative solutions and inspiring stories from leaders and workers shaping America. Discover actionable insights to build a motivated workforce.
I build America.
Welcome to the I Build America podcast. We're in Washington, D.C. with one of the wonderful congressional members from the state of Michigan, the great state of Michigan, Congressman Tom Barrett. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Great to see you too. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Ronnie.
I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while. You're a retired U.S. Army veteran. You've had a wonderful career, and you're now in Congress. What are you looking to achieve in your role as Congressman for the great state of Michigan? It's so nice to get your insight and your thoughts on where you know. As you know, we're a workforce development focused program.
Sure.
So we're all about economic development and helping people from around the country understand what states are doing, what we're doing in Congress to help spur economic growth, workforce opportunities. So it's good to be with you.
Yeah, it's great to be here, and thank you for the work that you're doing. And to answer your question, I'm hoping to build upon really what I stood for in the Army over the career that I spent there, the time I spent in the state legislature in Michigan, and now having the privilege to come here and represent the district I live in and where my family lives, where I'm raising my children back home in Michigan, to come here to Washington and represent our values and, the voices of the constituents that I'm privileged to be here on their behalf, so that they can hopefully go about their daily lives and, go out and do the things that they're doing while I come here and be their voice in Washington, D.C. And that's multifaceted, right? It's all of the things that people have top of mind right now, which is the cost of living and affordability, raising a family, cost of gas, groceries, that, really daily life situation. If you want to go out and buy a home, mortgage rates being higher statistically or, higher than average right now still. And, while we've made good progress around inflation and other things, we still haven't made mortgage rates come down to make that housing more affordable for people, making our country safer, securing our border, extending the pro-growth economics of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that we passed out of the House here a couple of weeks ago. So, I'm excited. I think we've got a lot that we can point to that we've been starting out on, but we've certainly got a long ways yet to go as well.
Well, and it's amazing how bringing down the prices on critical items, eggs and energy or gasoline, helps to improve a person's opportunity to survive.
Absolutely.
And without having to raise minimum wages that are just far excessive. But Michigan has such a storied history in manufacturing and evolution. I think I heard that you had an opportunity to spend time with Ford recently.
I did.
And so that's an exciting time to continue to expand what Michigan has done great already.
Yeah, our roots in Michigan really are in the automotive manufacturing space. We have the privilege of being home to multiple now, Michigan automotive world headquarters for automotive companies and a tremendous number of suppliers, and all the way down that supply chain to the person making, the smallest component that ultimately makes its way into, the cars that you and I drive down the road every day. So it's great. It's something that I grew up maybe taking for granted that Michigan had this in our background. But as I've left Michigan and gone around the world in the Army or around the country here as a member of Congress, that is unique. And it's something to be proud of and something that we can point back to as a real economic growth generator.
And also a long history in the defense side. And Ford, I was telling people the other day, Ford has had a great history in converting to making airplanes back in the early days. In fact, they created and spawned a few airlines out of their work, but they were one of the first to carry commercial mail through commercial aviation back in the early days.
Yeah, and that arsenal of democracy that defended America and stepped up and really took on that role from a corporate responsibility, but also from a patriotic spirit, from a side of defending the free world that Michigan had a big part of. I actually had the privilege just last month of calling a woman who had turned 100 years old in my district. Oh, wow. And she was one of the original Rosie the Riveters working an assembly line in Michigan back during World War II. She turned 100 years old, and I got to call her on her birthday, and she was with her family and wish her a happy birthday. And that was, stuff like that is really special, that as a member of Congress, you get to do those things that really builds upon your sentiment and the patriotic spirit of why people should be doing this job, and certainly what motivated me to do it. So it was something that was really special to do, and it was kind of reflective of your point about that manufacturing base. And I look at right now we've lost a lot of our manufacturing base in the Midwest throughout the country. We've lost that to other countries. It's been outsourced to a lot of places. I think the president's trying to bring that back to the United States. And I look at it certainly from an economic security standpoint, probably around that workforce side of it, like you're talking about, but also from a national security strategy standpoint of if America is called upon to go fight a war again, and God forbid we face a near peer adversary in that pursuit, are we able to adequately defend ourselves and build that arsenal of democracy that would be required? And right now, I'm concerned that we don't have that full, robust capability. And I think we need to have policies that bring that back for economic reasons, but probably even a more profound responsibility for national security reasons as well.
I've spoken to a few people, and I think a lot of people are surprised to learn that Michigan has a huge coastal line.
Mm-hmm. We do. Yeah.
People might think of Florida or California, but Michigan does as well.
Yeah, we've got a great freshwater coastline. I think the largest anywhere in the country and perhaps even in the world, a freshwater coastline with the Great Lakes that we have an abundance of, recreational, but also ecological and energy related, as well as the entire economic driver of the Great Lakes with tourism, with fishing, and a host of other economic drivers. Back and forth shipping of goods, barges over the water is a really important thing. You can get iron ore from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and take it down to, Pittsburgh, and then have it turned into a piece on a car that comes through an assembly line and part of Michigan and pops out onto a vehicle somewhere. So it's a pretty important thing.
Now, there was one statistic about Michigan that I thought was really fascinating. With 250,000 workers in the skilled trades, Michigan's skilled trades workforce ranks in the top 10 nationally. Mm-hmm. So when you look at those trade areas, and I know that's been, I think, a lot of the discussion here in Congress about trades and supporting trades and giving them the training and the skills that they need. It's very impressive that Michigan is up in the top.
Yeah, it is. And I think that, again, goes back to our history in that space. When you have a generational effect of people working in the automotive industry or working for a supplier on down the line, that's a really important thing. My own family, my father-in-law came to Michigan from the Tulsa area, worked for Ford in one of their Tulsa plants. And then when my wife was young, he was transferred to Michigan, which ultimately is how my wife and I met later in life, later when we were both in college. And then, other people have had that same experience where they've come from other parts of the country, or, maybe their father or grandfather worked in the automotive industry, and that's been a multi-generational pass down the line. It's really in the fiber of who we are. And I think that's an important thing. One of the things I'm excited about in this budget reconciliation bill that we passed a couple of weeks ago is a better opportunity for skilled trades. It allows for Pell Grants, for more flexibility with skilled trade programs. I think it's reflective of just the shift in the economy toward more of that need for skilled trades and need for advanced manufacturing and all those other things that may have been looked over in the past, or thinking that you got to go to a 4-year college and get a degree in something, that is a little bit more theoretical, and instead of looking at a trade program or something that's much more applicable in real life and far more stable of a career.
And I think the skills trade is really the background and the strength of the country as well. I had a conversation earlier today, truck drivers. There needs to be someone to move that product across the country. Mm-hmm. And there's so much product going to all of our grocery stores and retail places, and very important. A diesel mechanic repair. Speaking to an organization not long ago, and a diesel mechanic, they were describing to me, fresh out of high school, went into a training program, took a few months in the training program. 6 years out of high school, this person was earning about $200,000 a year in compensation. Wow. Great paying jobs, roofing and sheet metal repair for the airline industry. Those are just wonderful trades and industries to work.
They are, and they provide ample and robust opportunity for people. They're also a lot more insulated from outsourcing. If you're a large scale, imagine being a diesel mechanic on large generators, for example, that might be a backup generator for a hospital. Like, they're not going to outsource that to somebody else. You can't have your airline repair people, sent over to China. Like, you got to fix it where it is. Exactly. So there are really, provides a lot of certainty and a lot of, really long-term economic security, allows people to do things that they can measure the output of what they're doing. I think that's one thing that is lost in the job that I have, is you can can come here to Congress and vote on bills and pass legislation, and they have a theoretical application, but you also have a lot of things that are muddled in politics and don't get done that you would like to do, or an amendment that you think would make something stronger or better, and you're not able to get it done or whatnot. You're kind of merging together a lot of people's ideas and thoughts, and you ultimately get something that you hope has a positive effect at the end of it all. But if you're in a trade or you're a builder or you're doing something like that, you can start your day with one set of, raw materials and end your day with a finished product that you can point to and know that you had an effect on. And I think that's something that's really kind of an attractive thing for a lot of people.
I agree. And I visited Michigan not long ago, and I was amazed at how advanced these operations are, particularly in the automotive industry, just seeing the manufacturing plants. So when I think about that and the infrastructure and the supply chain, there are a lot of companies surrounding that industry, high tech in many ways, absolutely amazing. I think a lot of people look at it and might think the similar line is the way that it was 100 years ago,
right?
But it's not. It's absolutely very impressive.
Yeah, and there's a lot of robotic, use of technology and advanced manufacturing and high precision. I think that's why we've had, great success in manufacturing, is because the precision with which we're able to do that now on the advanced manufacturing stage, and the tolerances for how that gets done have just increased over time. Right. I was touring a place in my district that makes turbo performance vehicle parts, and they were showing me how they manufacture the blades within the compressor for a turbo. And I mean, it's some pretty high tech, stuff that you got to be very, very precise with how you do that. And not like a crude instrument of maybe 100 years ago that may have existed. These are really high precision things and take high skilled workers to do them. The advanced manufacturing, advanced robotics, all of that really feeds into the output that we get, and hopefully the economic boost that provides. I think we're really at a point where we're seeing, 3D printing really take off as as something that can be relied upon and has much more precision and durability to it. Energy exploration in North America and in the United States, we have a robust and really large deposit of natural gas in our own country that is a clean burning fuel that we can harvest for manufacturing and other purposes as well, for our own quality of life. And then we have a workforce that I think is ready, if given the right set of scenarios and the right fostering and everything else, to kind of turn not away from the hyper academic expectation of maybe when I was coming out of high school, where the idea was if you don't go to college, you're not going to have a middle class life, right, to now one that is really much more reflective and encompassing of the greater career opportunities that exist outside of the traditional 4-year degree field that we've all been led to believe is the only pathway to success.
Large majority of people do not go to a traditional 4-year school.
Yeah. And if you get a degree in English, for example, you're probably not making as much as that diesel mechanic you pointed out. Right. So, so I think there's a lot of reasons to choose your own adventure in life, right, to lean into it, do what you're skilled at and what you're inclined to do, and not try and fit a square peg in a round hole and maybe, start a college degree and never finish it, rack up debt in the pursuit of a college education that's not ultimately fulfilling what your purpose would best be suited at.
Now, I know we're at the end of our time, but I hear there's a special connection between you and your great-grandfather.
Yes. Yeah. My, probably the most special, or, one of the things I'm most proud of here in Congress is my great-grandfather served here before me. He was elected 90 years before I was.
Nice.
He was elected in 1934. He died in office in 1961. While he was back home in Michigan, he represented a district on the east side of Detroit in the Grosse Pointes. His name was Louis Rabo, and he is best remembered for adding the words "Under God" to our Pledge of Allegiance, which was signed on Flag Day, 1954. Added "Under God" to our Pledge of Allegiance. And when I came here to Congress, I was able to work a scenario. I approached the member who had my great-grandfather's office, asked if he was willing to move out of the office so that I could attempt to get in, and went through the whole freshman lottery process and worked that out with my colleagues. And proud to say that I have the same office my great-grandfather had about 75 years ago.
It's amazing.
The same office he had when he drafted that bill, adding "Under God" to our Pledge of Allegiance, and really a proud thing for me and my family. We have his picture hanging on the wall. wall. We have a copy of his bill on the wall as well, and one of the very early copies of our Pledge of Allegiance after the law was amended to add those words to it. So kind of a special thing. I took my kids out to the Lincoln Memorial when they were here visiting a month or so ago. And it actually, those words "under God" were first coined by President Lincoln during the Gettysburg Address. You know, at the end of that speech, he said that this nation under God shall not perish from the earth. And, you know, decades later, it was added into our Pledge of Allegiance. And I was pointing that out to my kids at the Lincoln Memorial while we were there. And my youngest son, Lewis, is 4 years old, is named after my great grandfather, and kind of a special connection for our family, and one that we're certainly proud of.
That was really neat. Well, thank you first for your service as a member of our services. Thank you for your great work in the state of Michigan. And we appreciate what you're doing here in Congress and for workforce development for everyone around the country. I know at a certain point you all represent your districts back in your home states, but as a collective body, you're really driving the United States forward. So thank you for joining us on I Build America. Congressman, we appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the I Build America podcast. Please subscribe, share, and comment, and be sure to join us next time for more insights and inspiring conversations on building a powerful American workforce. I Build America, building workforce success one podcast at a time.